Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel. Just had Russ Moore in to break down who's hot, who's not here in Rhode Island and nationally, as he does every Friday. Be sure to check out his opinion column that he writes every Monday, and we'll see who's hot or not next week. But as we do on each Friday, we have EcoRI in to talk about the biggest environmental stories in Rhode Island during the week. This week we have Executive Director Joanna Detz around the corner. Sometimes it's Frank Carini. Sometimes we get Joe.
Sometimes you get lucky.
Sometimes we get lucky. We get Joe. Appreciate your coming in because there's a lot going on EcoRI this week.
I just want to say this is not hashtag Louis Vuitton. This is hashtag consignment stuff.
Oh, consignment. Because I gave the hashtag TJ. I don't even know. This is so old. It's so threadbare. I don't even know where I bought it.
So you love not having Frank. We get to talk about fashion.
Frank's going to be watching. He's going to be laughing his head off. It's always good. We get you, Frank, or we even got Tim Faulkner in a few weeks back, but it was actually Frank who kind of wrote the big story this week that he's been working on for a while. That is a big item of attention and discussion around the state, and that's lead in the water. And let me just, you said there's so many numbers, but it was the one that really stood out. The study found that Providence water lead levels exceeded federal standards 57% of the time in the last decade. How long did it take Frank to compile this data and do all this research?
Well, he's been working on it for about a month and a half, and I think he wanted to avoid writing an hysterical story. This is a problem, but actually the real problems with lead are lead paint chips, lead in the air. Water is a part of that problem. It's not as big an issue, but it is still, no lead level is safe. And so that number is pretty alarming, and it's a very complicated issue and nuanced too.
It is complex, it is nuanced. He talked with a number of stakeholders, of course, Prov Water, he talked with community activists. But let me just ask you, because, being on the journalistic side of things, what was the reaction when you guys put this story out? When you do big stories like that, obviously you hear from a lot of people. What did you hear when this had gone up on EcoRI?
Well, we just put it up. It hasn't gone out in the newsletter, which is when we get the most reaction. But I think, it's not, I think it was written in such a way, it wasn't alarmist, so we haven't gotten a lot of people, calling up. But I think, the story was written, in a balanced way to try to give people an understanding of the complexity of the issue and also some solutions that homeowners can take, because there is a lot that you can do as a homeowner, from some low-cost solutions to replacing some of the lead pipes in your home. And obviously that doesn't cover renters, which is another big issue.
That is a huge issue, with so much of the Providence market being rentals, families moving around, income challenged, as we know with the housing stock here, certainly a huge issue. The impetus is on the landlords. But one of the things, I found it interesting that EcoRI had come out with a story this week, just when Prov Water made an announcement about loans to help homeowners replace the pipes.
Yeah.
Do you think,
I don't know.
is there a correlation there of your story coming out and them saying, because it's several $1,000s. Some folks will be able to do this if they have it, but the income challenge, they're saying, we're doing everything within our power to help you. But as pointed out in the article, it's twofold, because Prov Water says, look, there's no lead when it comes out of the reservoir, when it comes through the distribution channels. It's at the end stage, the delivery stage.
Right, the service lines.
The service lines, that's where the lead is, in fact. But they're kind of saying, we're going to do what we can do, but it's also up to the homeowners to do it themselves. Do you think people, have you talked, do you get a sense within the community who's actually kind of reaching in their wallets and saying, I guess we got to do this?
Well, it's one of those things, and I thought there was an interesting point made at the end of the piece. One of the advocates, lead advocate, he's not advocating lead, but he's advocating public health issues, said that, when it comes to a gas line that's ruptured in your home or outside of your home, natural gas, National Grid is there to fix it. Is there a parity there? It's,
so whose responsibility? Yes.
Issue. So, Providence Water, it is a huge undertaking to replace all the lead solder in the pipes and the service lines in the homes, but
So I do want to say that using the solder now, lead solder for drinking water has been banned for 3 decades.
Yeah.
3 decades, and yet these are the old pipes that are there.
Yeah.
Do you get the sense that as you said, we were just discussing, again, the cost associated with it. Do you think people will really invest in this? Will we see a turnaround, or will we see these same types of numbers 10 years from now?
I think unless there's legislation like we saw with the cesspool phase out, where if you're selling a home, you have to get your cesspool taken off your property and put in a septic system. I think until we see strong legislation around transfer of ownership, even or with rental properties, that it's really not going to happen. And for those people who are concerned, you can buy filters that will filter lead out, so you can attach it to your faucet. You just have to change it as recommended. So that's a low-cost way to get around it, but yeah, it's a big money issue. It
is a big money issue. Do you think that there's any political will or appetite?
I don't know. I mean, it's I think that the realtor, there's some pretty strong lobbyists who might come out against it in the Realtors Association. Yeah, I don't know.
But, I mean, there must have been similar pressures when the cesspool legislation.
There were, and it takes a groundswell of support. It takes a lot of advocacy groups coming together and grassroots folks coming up and letting people know that this is needed. So, we'll see. There's a lot going on.
So interesting. It's already up on the website, but as you said, you really get the reaction when the newsletter goes out. So make sure you sign up to EcoRI. Either go to the website now, read the story now, sign up for the newsletter, make sure you get it delivered to you. The environmental news you need to know here in Rhode Island. We have them in every week.
Thanks.
And then another story I wanted to talk with you about, what's happening with Brayton Point Power Plant and what they're looking to do with it. Biomass.
Yeah, so this story just went up and I just read it, as did you probably. So Brayton Point was that big coal-fired power plant you see in Somerset on the right.
The big cooling towers, kind of looks like 3 Mile Island, but it's not.
Or Springfield and Simpson.
Yes.
So that's closed, and they're looking to repurpose that property and use it again as an energy facility in some way. And so there's sort of a blivet of proposals for this particular property, one of which is burning the gas from decomposing wood pellets. It's very complicated, but there's a lot of concern from the residents who kind of were breathing a sigh of relief that this power plant, which was very polluting, is closed, and now there's
some other potential
for going to come in. I think people were maybe hoping for a solar array, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know anything of biomass. It sounded like there were some concerns at the meeting that was just held recently. They were like, okay, well, if you burn it, are there byproducts? Is there concern for contamination? Clearly, it's not as dirty. I mean, Brayton Point was the dirtiest.
It was very dirty, and all the water that it took to cool it, which went into Mount Hope Bay. It's not clear. People who went to that meeting still had a lot of questions, and it's all very preliminary. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that.
But as it's interesting, as you said, hoping that maybe solar could come in, and then it's like, you're burning gas?
Right, you're burning the gas from decomposing wood.
What is it you're looking to do again? So we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. Anyone who travels down that stretch of road knows where that power plant is. But I mean, it couldn't be anything else but.
I don't know, I wanted to see it be like an amusement park or something. Slides to the cooling towers.
Kind of incorporated, the Brownfields amusement park. So talk with us. You have the Zero Trash Bash coming up shortly. Tell folks. I tell Frank too. We joked one of the other days that it was like the little itty bitty trash bash.
Yeah, there's with everything. There's never no trash. So there'll be some minor pieces and scraps, but this event kind of came out of the work that we did cleaning up road races over the years and just bearing witness to the amount of waste that's produced by an event that lasts only 3 hours. So we challenged ourselves to come up with a party that was as close to zero waste as possible. So everything eaten, imbibed, recycled, reused, composted, all proceeds upcycled to EcoRI, so that's awesome.
The date?
The date is September 8th.
It's coming up?
Yep, 4 bands. It's going to be at FET, so it'll be a great time.
Okay, 4 bands coming up. So I just saw this national. Have you heard of the You Suck campaign about plastic straws that they're trying to?
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of catchy because someone was doing it. This was some national TV that I had seen, and they were mad because another kind of celebrity told them that they sucked, but because they saw a photo of them using. Are drinking straws that big of an issue?
Yeah, I mean they are. I mean, I think, how many billions of drinking straws a year when you do a cleanup at Save the Bay. You see a lot of drinking straws washing up on the beach. They get ingested by sea life and cause all kinds of problems. So it's a small thing that you can do, it's a lifestyle shift that you can make that has a big impact if a lot of people do it. So
Don't use straws.
yeah, I just bought my niece's.
Molly is the best. She's
Metal
got her.
Amazon. Or your local retailer that carries.
And you take it in with
Aluminum
you,
straw.
and you take it out with you.
Yeah, I got a 5-pack.
Thanks, Molly. I was actually just gonna mention it. Molly, does that have snake on it?
Sure.
Molly had iguana in earlier, and she had a big boa, like Britney style, kind of around her. It was great. She's very brave. But it was interesting to see the straw campaign, and so again, wanted to ask you just how, like anything else,
Yeah, I mean there.
ends up in the ocean, ends up places it shouldn't end up, and ends up in the landfill, and.
Yeah, but there's something you can do. So do the right thing, have a positive impact.
Do the right thing. A lot of places have paper straws.
They have paper straws, but it's funny if you go to a bar and you ask for no straw. It's like the bartender is sort of on autopilot. There's that motion memory, and they just like even if you say no straw, they put the straw, because they're so used to doing it. So,
Yeah.
try it out. Maybe
Okay,
some
try it
bars
out.
will catch on.
No
and not
straws.
offer
See if it
straws.
kind of catches up here. Mark your calendar, September 8th for the No Trash Bash. And we'll see what's going on from EcoRI in the coming weeks.
Yeah, you may see Frank, you may see Tim, I may be
It's
back.
always a crapshoot who we get
may
here
send
in
in
the
a
studio.
snake, I don't know.
We already had a snake. We've met our snake quota for the month. No more snakes. I like snakes. They're fine from a
I think
distance.
they're awesome.
But thank you for coming in. But again, check out, this was the piece written by Frank Carini, EcoRI news editor that he had worked on, as Joe pointed out, for a month and a half, compiling the data, talking with, again, a number of stakeholders about what exactly the issue is, how Prov Water is trying to address it, how stakeholders in the community are trying to solve this problem as well. So big read, check it out on EcoRI. And if, again, you're curious as to what's happening at that Brayton Point power plant, I don't think an amusement park's in its future,
That's
Joe.
my dream.
An EcoRI dream, having an amusement park at a defunct power plant.